In Russia, people are remembering the victims of the devastating apartment bombings that occurred 25 years ago. A series of explosions destroyed residential buildings in several cities, claiming the lives of hundreds. The attacks were officially blamed on Chechen separatists, which ignited a new war in the North Caucasus and marked the beginning of Vladimir Putin's rise to power. However, to this day, no concrete evidence has been presented linking Chechen forces to the bombings. Many independent observers and analysts have raised serious doubts, suggesting instead that Russian special services may have orchestrated the attacks to help secure Putin's position as president.
On the night of September the 9th, 1999, a terrible explosion completely destroyed two entrances of a 9-story building in Moscow. The blast killed 106 people and injured more than 600. Politicians and authorities immediately declared it a terrorist attack. This incident was the first in a series of similar tragedies.
This is a great tragedy, and now we need to help those people who are around us. Overall, this is a war against our country.
Just a few days later, another attack occurred claiming the lives of 124 people. Eyewitnesses again reported that a sugar storage facility had been set up on the first floor of a residential building in Moscow. Law enforcement officials confirmed that the sugar sacks contained hexogen. 2 days later, Russia's newly appointed Prime Minister Vladimir Putin declared that Chechen separatists were responsible for the explosions. Before this, the Kremlin had been at war with Chechnya, which had been demanding independence, though peace had been established 3 years earlier.
For us, it's now absolutely clear that terrorists are hiding in the Chechen Republic and are being supported by extremist forces there.
This incident became the catalyst for the declaration of the Second Chechen War. However, subsequent events raised doubts whether the terrorists were truly based in Chechnya. On September the 22nd, in the town of Ryazan, located 200 kilometers from Moscow, local residents observed suspicious individuals carrying bags into a building's cellar late in the evening. Eyewitnesses contacted the police, who arrived at the scene and discovered explosives and timers already in place.
Work in the fight against the terrorists is already underway, and there are positive developments. In particular, this can be seen by the preventing of the explosion of a residential building yesterday in Ryazan.
The police in Ryazan quickly detained those responsible for planting the explosives. During the interrogation, they presented IDs identifying them as employees of the Federal Security Service. The Kremlin urgently demanded their release. FSB head Nikolai Patrushev claimed it was merely an exercise and that the bags contained sugar.
The FSB officers and law enforcers didn't refute anything at that time. In my opinion, this is a confession. They are murderers. If Russian society had reacted as it should have done at the time, there wouldn't have been hundreds of thousands of deaths, including in Syria, over a quarter of a century of Putin's rule.
Most Russians, influenced by state propaganda, believed that Chechen separatists were responsible for the apartment bombings, which led to the start of the war against Chechnya. Putin, who had already announced his intention to run for president, consistently emphasized the fight against terrorism. This narrative helped him build a reputation as a strong leader determined to restore order in Russia.
The episodes with the apartment block bombings were part of a general operation by the security forces intended to precede the start of the Second Chechen War, which was meant to increase Putin's chances of winning the election.
Later, authorities announced the capture and conviction of separatists allegedly responsible for the bombings, although none of them were of Chechen origin.